Dead Space 2 remains a special game in my heart. The follow-up to a surprising new horror game that took the gaming world by storm in the PS3 and 360 generation, it was a hotly anticipated title back in the day, by media and myself. Last Halloween, I got the urge to play through these two games again, so I fired up my Origin account and downloaded both games for the first time in over 10 years. Dead Space 2 was nothing short of the perfect game when I played it for the first time. The atmosphere, gameplay, visuals, sound, and story all culminated in an experience that was nothing short of amazing to me. Right from the start, the game has a familiar sense of frantic horror that took over. Isaac is restrained and he has to run for his life while being chased by all kinds of monsters. It was a pretty big contrast from the first game. Where the first game's opening is a bit more mysterious and slower paced, Dead Space 2 is all gas and no breaks from start to end. That said, Dead Space 2's more personal story of guilt, denial, and sickness was way more interesting to me as a player. I felt for Isaac throughout the game as he deals with the negative impact from his contact with the marker. Throughout the game, we also experience the same haunting visions and voices that Isaac does. Ranging from his dead girlfriend to other random horrors appearing, Isaac is definitely not okay in this game. Whereas the first game was more of a fight for Isaac's physical well-being, the second is definitely for his mental. Personally, I found it a much more compelling situation than the first, and I loved every second of it, even coming back to it after so many years. What really sells this is how Dead Space conveys its world. Going past a dead soldier who's getting a video message relaying information to his allies is really neat. That way the player can experience the same message without having to pick up a file or open a menu to read some lore. It's both cool visually and contextually relevant to the world it's in. It's something I hope more games do, and it's a bit sad that Dead Space is one of the few who really goes for it. This is all complemented by an excellent atmosphere. The game makes great use of its setting and environments. From chaotic residential areas filled with screaming civilians, to sterile military wings that all feel natural and appropriate to the setting. All of this is accented by various creepy imagery found throughout. Dead Space loves creepy symbols, bodies strewn around in ritual, and more to sell its plot and setting to great effect. The audio too is nothing short of amazing. Weapons all sound great and impactful. There's a ton of ambient effects going on as well, and of course the sounds of various creatures keep the tone well in the horror genre. I was really reminded how masterclass this experience was. All of this wouldn't matter, of course, if the game itself wasn't fun to play, now would it? Thankfully, the gameplay holds up well in this case. Everything feels nice and fluid from start to end. Isaac isn't a ninja or anything, but he is quite light on his feet, and feels great to control. The aiming and shooting feel similarly great. It all feels fine-tuned to the action it's presenting. Even the segments with 0G or that are free-floating control well and don't end up being confusing or frustrating. And I have to say, for a game that was inspired by Resident Evil 4, the gameplay here is smoother and feels a bit more natural. It all really just holds up. Perhaps one of my favorite things about Dead Space is the variety. Of course your character can change suits, which upgrades defense and gives more options for inventory, but where the real meat of the game is the weapons. Each one has a completely different feel and function, and even has an alt fire to spice things up even more. It's easy to find a few weapons you love, and the game doesn't push you to switch if you really don't want to. My personal favorites were the flamethrower, line gun, and contact beam. Also, the weapons and suits can be upgraded. After a certain point, the weapons even get really cool special effects. Of course, you can't do all of them in one playthrough, but it encourages you to come back to the game for a few more runs. On top of those are the kinesis and stasis functions, respectively. Both are primarily used for puzzles, but also serve as valuable tools for combat as well. Kinesis lets the player pick up objects around them, and in combat, you can throw these objects at enemies. It can really help you get out of a pinch if you're low on ammo. Stasis slows down a localized area or enemy. This lets you get in pot shots without having to worry about damage. All of these things make the combat and gameplay nothing short of amazing. Of course, Dead Space's combat is a bit more unique than other games. Instead of simply attacking enemies, you attack their limbs, removing arms, legs, tails, and even their head. Doing this alters enemies' attack patterns too. Say you remove an arm, well, that's an enemy that can't attack with that arm anymore, obviously. But you can even use the kinesis to pick up that arm and shoot it right back at the enemy, impaling them. It all rounds out to an experience that is just simply amazing and works well and is really refined in what it's trying to do. Rounding out the gameplay is puzzles. While they're a touch less involved than Dead Space 1, they are splintered throughout the game still. None of them are too difficult, but they do require the player to look around their environment for clues and solutions. None of the puzzles in Dead Space require you to find keys or solutions in files. Instead, everything is done in context of the room that you're involved in at the moment. They help break up the blistering pace of the game, but it doesn't take you out of the experience either, since none is too difficult or lasts very long. I have to say, after more than 10 years, Dead Space 2, and 1 for that matter, stand out as excellent examples of the horror action genre. The setting, story, and gameplay all feel great in 2021, which was a really big relief for my nostalgia. If you've never experienced Dead Space, I highly recommend it. The entire franchise regularly goes on sale on the various storefronts too. Of course, replaying these games only made me wish that the franchise was still active today. EA has said that the franchise isn't dead, just not in active development at the moment. Hopefully content like this from someone who's actually new to making videos like this, compared to the really professional and amazing Dead Space retrospectives out there, will help convince EA that Dead Space is worth bringing back. The first two games are nothing short of classics, and while the third game wasn't that great to fans, even the spin-off we all loved. So maybe we'll see Dead Space again. Maybe it will. Rise from the grave. As always, thanks for watching, and leave a like and a follow if you enjoyed the video. Of course, leave a comment and tell a friend. It really helps spread the word about my channel. Thank you very much.
I never wanted to let you go.
A lot happened that we never wanted. Isaac, touch me.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Isaac, please. Make us whole.
I can't.